Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Mike of the Ozonaut. Today we're going to learn about what dosing means. So when I tell people that you need to do 10 gamma at 100 ml for a total dose of 1000, they have no idea what that necessarily means. And that's totally normal. I mean, you don't understand what you don't know. So we're going to get into that today. What is dosing? How do you calculate it? And just what do all those different words mean? Okay, so let's start with volume. What is volume? So when we're talking about ozone therapy, we're usually going to be measuring volume in milliliters. So all the syringes, really pretty much everything is going to be measured in milliliters, and that's just the unit of measurement we use. But all volume is it's telling us how much gas there is. So for instance, this syringe, right now it's at 30 cc's, which is the volume. So it has a volume of 30, cc and ml is the same thing. So if you get confused by that, exact same thing. cc is cubic centimeters, ml is milliliters, but in this scenario, those are the exact same thing. So anyway, I have 30 ml, and that's just telling me the volume. Now I have 60. It's really straightforward, but it's not telling me the concentration of the gas that's in here. So if we have ozone gas in this syringe, it doesn't tell us how strong that is. So to demonstrate, I have 3 cups of water here. You'll notice that they're all the identical volume, so they all have the same amount of water. So volume is how much water is in each of these glasses. And for concentration, strength, I'm going to use just some red dye just to represent what strength means. So we have the same volume between all 3 glasses. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a different amount of red dye in each one. That's going to represent the strength. So all right, well, I hope that translates well onto the camera here. So essentially, you're seeing that all of them have the same volume, but there's different strengths of the dye. So that might be the concentration of the red dye that I use. So this one's the least, it only had 1 drop, this had 3 drops, and this I think had 9 drops. So there's very different concentrations between these cups, even though they have the same volume. So you would know though, that if you were to drink this one, you would drink the most amount of red dye. Even though it's the same amount of water, you're still drinking the most amount of red dye because the most amount of dye was put into that. And it's the exact same thing with ozone therapy. So I could have a syringe full of ozone gas and the volume be the exact same. But let's say I use 10 gamma one time and the next time I use 20 gamma. I actually just doubled my dose by doing that. So it's important to know the distinction between the concentration and the volume. Concentration represents how strong the ozone gas is, while volume is just how much of the gas there is total. So let's say you have an ozone generator. On one side, you're going to see the concentration here. This is telling you how strong the ozone gas is going to be based on what setting you set the regulator to. So it doesn't tell you how much gas there is going to be. That's going to be up to you, but it's just representing how strong the ozone is. So let's say I put a syringe on here and I set it to setting 2. That on this chart is going to give me 9 gamma. So I can allow it to fill up. It would be filling up by itself if it was hooked up, but I allow it to fill up to 60 cc's. Then I take it off. So I have 60 cc's of gas, that's the volume, and then I have a concentration of 9 in here. So to get the dose for that, all I have to do is actually multiply the concentration times the volume. So I would say 60 cc's times 9 gamma. That one's 2. Let's just do 10. So let's say I had 10 gamma in here. 60 cc's times 10 gamma is 600 micrograms. That's the total dose. So once you kind of understand the relationship between those two things, once you know how much gas you have and how strong the gas is, you can figure out the dose. So if the total dose is 1,000, you want 10 gamma at 100 milliliters or whatever it is. And you can play around with the numbers too. So you could have 20 gamma times 50 milliliters would still be 1,000 micrograms in total dose. So you can actually change the concentration or the volume and actually get the same dose. Keep in mind though, you generally never want to go over 80 for any therapy, and therapies do have a recommended window. So like for rectal insufflation, for instance, The upper end of that is 40 gamma, so you don't really want to exceed that. So just keep that in mind when you're doing dosing. But that was just a quick explanation on what the dose of ozone therapy is, what it means, and hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, just feel free to comment it below in the video and I'll answer those. So have a great day.